true.
Yeah.
Well, you are. You just can't
I
see.
can be a little nervous.
I know. I'll shut up.
There you are.
I haven't
Hi.
actually either.
Are you recording this? I think it's really good, actually.
So my name is Tracy Nelson, and I played Jennifer DiNuccio on Square Pegs.
You most certainly did. And my name is Claudette Wells, and I played, who did I play? Oh, LaDonna Frederick. and we played best friends.
We decided to do this together because not only were we together on the show, but we kind of have been together since. We're not partners, but we've we've been
Love
best,
you, babe, but not
love
like
you, babe.
that.
We've been best friends since the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we met doing the show.
And we bonded over hair issues on the show. And
yeah, big hair issues. We had hair issues. And the hair department.
well, also, too, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're different colors. And so it took a while for them to figure out how to light us in the same shot. And everything was always a two-shot. So, you know, usually you couldn't see Claudette, and I was blown out to the point where you really couldn't see me either. So,
yeah, because I absorb the light and she reflects the light. You know, you lighting people understand that. And so this was a long time ago, remember. Things have improved.
And I'm going to be really shallow right now and just say that the biggest problem for me on the show was my hair. And that was because right before the show started, I had it cut really, really short, which at the time was very cool. It was very Pat Benatar. It was very, you know, looked really good.
It did look good.
But the director hated it, thought I looked like a boy, so I had to wear a wig.
Which looked like a squirrel on her head.
It was a squirrel. It really, really, really looked like a squirrel. It was horrible.
It was pretty bad. So, and we had
your hair. You need
my hair. Oh yeah, my hair. I was set loose on my own to go and find someone to do braids and beads in my hair. I didn't know that, you know, they were responsible for finding someone to do braids and beads. So I was driving up and down the streets in South Central LA on my day off, looking for someone. You have to have braids and beads by Tuesday. You know, I was like, okay, so here I go, you know, driving up and down the street looking for signs for braids, and I found one, and I got braids and beads. And
but your hair started to fall out. Your real hair,
no,
didn't it?
It didn't start to fall out, no. But Anne, our creator, producer, writer person, wouldn't have had the show without her, said, you need to change the color of the beads. But I had shot with those beads for a while, so then they got me a wig. And why didn't they do that to begin with? And it saved me from driving all over South LA, you know, on my day off and taking 9 hours in some salon, you know. But anyway, we had hair issues, and so we bonded over those.
And I guess the point is that we were really so young at that point. It was really kind of the first thing either of us had ever done. It was the first thing any of us, except for Sarah. Sarah was a bit intimidating because she'd been on Broadway.
Sarah had been on Broadway, but it was the first TV series
yes, that's
for
true.
any of us.
So none of us really knew yet how things worked, and that we just felt completely responsible for our own look and everything on the show.
Rather than saying, you figure it out, you know.
Yeah, and we will just focus on the acting.
Yeah, but, well, we did that too.
But I have to say, I am so grateful to Anne and to the show, because truly she took some major, major risks with everybody that she cast in these parts. I mean, when we were auditioning, I probably won't, no, I won't name names, but there were some pretty well-known people.
Major singing stars.
Major singing stars who have recently had weight issues, but we won't talk about it.
We won't mention who they are.
In the hallway, waiting to read, and I remember going in, I actually walked out. And I called my agent, and I called my agent and said, I can't read against these people. It's too scary. They're big stars. And he said, no, just go. And I remember for me, what was good was doing this kind of a character voice that really I was imitating the girls in my high school. Oh, gosh, I haven't done it in so long. And they all kind of talk like this. And she said, like a lot, and you know. Well, I kind of did Jennifer like that as the popular girl in school, and nobody had really done that on TV before except for Lorraine Newman on Saturday Night Live. She did Sherry the Stewardess like that, sort of. And I remember after the pilot was shot, someone called me from the show and said, oh, you've got to hear Moon Zappa's Valley Girl. Sounds just like your character. And then suddenly everyone's saying I'm doing a bad imitation of Moon Zappa.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's, I think, what really helped me get cast was doing it with that voice. And Claudette and I sort of clicked right away. And
Because we were the 18 and overs, and we didn't have to go to school. We were.
we were. And
We didn't have to go to school, and the others had to go to school.
But
They
what
were
that
1 year
meant-
younger.
we started
They
rooming,
were a year, one.
started rooming together. And we had to...
We did. We did. That's
And-
right. I forgot about that.
Are you done?
No. Yes.
Okay, except for, you know, well, because Amy and Sarah and Jamie and John were minors, they got to come in a little later, and so we would get up at, we were up in the dark.
We were up in the dark. We had to leave the Hollywood Hills at 5 because we had to be down by Disneyland because we shot at the school
An old
down
school.
in where was
Downey.
that? No, it
Norwalk.
was Norwalk. We had to be in our
Close to Downey.
makeup, yeah, very near makeup chairs at 6. We never made it by 6, but we were close.
Yeah.
And Tracy would stay up till 3 in the morning, so that didn't help.
Yeah, we didn't really get a whole lot of sleep, but you know what?
I did. I like to sleep, but
I didn't. But you know what? It was really, really. We would have done it. We would have done it a million times. Well, we did do it a million times because we were young, and I
And
don't
we
want.
loved it.
And we really, really loved it.
And it was so much fun
fantastic.
once we got there. It was really fun, and it was filmed. You know, it was one camera film, so it was great.
And I remember too with the words, because we had all these Saturday Night Live writers, and there was such smart writing, and everybody was always trying to figure out ways to make it funnier, which of course they do on sitcoms. But usually on a sitcom, first of all, it was a film sitcom. Usually on a sitcom, you have, you know, you have 3 cameras and you have an audience, a
Right.
studio audience. And what will happen is, I don't know if Jamie's already talked about this or not, because she does a few of them too. What happens is you go and you rehearse all week, and then on Thursday, the suits come down from the network, or you know, they all come down and they tell you what's funny and what's not, and then you have to kind of figure that out by Friday.
Right.
But on our show, we didn't have the interference of that so much, and by the time the script got to us, it was pretty much either these suits were going to drive down to Norwalk and stop what we were doing, or we could just kind of say what was on the page, which was always funnier than what
Really,
they wanted. So
really funny.
yeah, and sometimes I remember when Bill Murray did the show.
I made him laugh. I made him
Did
laugh
you?
in the dressing room, yes. Actually, he was in the dressing room and I was in the dressing room, and I was messing with my wig with the beads on it. And he was doing something, and he said something, and I said, oh, well, yeah, I'm really funny. And he said, oh, yeah, you're funny? And I said, yeah, I'm funny. And then later on, like 5 minutes later, I made him laugh. I can't remember what I did.
Well, that's the punchline. You got to remember
I can't remember
how
the
you made
punchline,
him
but
laugh.
I made him laugh. And he, from then on, you know, I remember in the last...
Make something up.
No, I'm not going to make anything up because I can't remember. But anyway, he loved me from then on. And at the very end, he was playing the teacher that episode. He came to my desk and he danced with me in the classroom.
He did?
Yeah, and it's on the show. It was really great. He was so random. It was great. He's wonderful.
Well, I just remember him taking the script. At one point, we had so many changes.
That was when we first showed up at work that morning. All the
with
writers were in a room
When he
with
took all
Bill
the brads
Murray.
out of the script?
Yes.
Yeah, we would go through all the colors of the rainbow. When you change the script, they'll bring in pages that are different colors, so you know what the changes are. Well, we went through pretty much every single color in the Crayola box, you know,
Yes.
burnt sienna, magenta, you know, so we were into like double burnt sienna. And he got, I think, a little frustrated with all the changes, and at one point, I remember him taking the brads, which are those little gold rivets that go in the script for those of you who want nothing to do with show business, and took them out of the script, threw it in the air, and he's like, we're not doing this anymore. We're just not.
He did.
We're going to do what we want. And he picked up the director and carried her around the room screaming.
Yes, he did. He really did. He was great.
And I don't think that would ever happen on Hannah Montana.
Well,
or, you know, any of those shows.
I don't know. We're not there, but I doubt it.
I don't think so.
No. It was wild and
Devo.
fun.
We had Devo.
We had Devo on the show.
I mean, how cool
oh
is
my
that?
Gosh, that was
We
really.
had an incredibly cool music supervisor.
Yes.
Yeah, and in fact, I remember him coming one day, Steve Smith, coming to work one day and saying, oh, I heard this really great girl in the clubs in New York, and she's going to be really big, and I think we should have her on the show, because we had a set that was called The Grease, right?
Yeah, that was the
Little cafeteria,
cafeteria.
kind of place.
It was like a coffee
diner,
shop.
diner.
Diner. That's the word.
And
Right.
there was always music piped in there, and so we tried to get, you know, really cool bands to be represented. And anyway, it turns out this was Madonna.
Madonna.
that he was talking
yeah,
about.
And we didn't get her.
No, I think they
But
picked
we almost
somebody
got,
else
did we get
that
the Stray
week.
Cats? No, we didn't get them. That's right.
Oh,
We
that was
almost
such
got
a
them.
bummer, such a crush on
know.
Brian Setzer.
Well, you know.
But I'm grateful now that I never had anything related to Stray Cats tattooed on me anywhere, because that would be embarrassing now.
That wouldn't be good. Yeah.
Well, maybe not Brian Setzer. He's still really cool. But
He is. I have a friend who used to manage him, actually.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Alex.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah, we had Devo, and that day that Devo was there, that was just...
That was a wild day. They played for Buffy's bat mitzvah. Of course.
Muffy.
What did I say?
Buffy? Muffy Tepperman, right? You said Buffy.
I didn't
That's
mean
the Vampire
Buffy.
Slayer.
Yeah,
She has
that's
nothing
a
to
different
do with
show.
Square Pigs.
Muffy. How could I say Buffy? Muffy's bar mitzvah.
Been a
Of course it was
while.
Muffy.
We're old and we
that
kind of forget
Alzheimer's
now.
starts to kick in. That all was it Buffy? Buffy's bar mitzvah. It rhymes with Buffy. Anyway.
I have to say one thing that's like one of my favorite things about Square Pegs. There was well, Halloween that year, there was a little girl in a park, and one of my friends asked her, she was all dressed up, and she had kind of the hair like this, and she had, you know, the mini skirt with polka dots and big tacky jewelry, very 80s. And my friend said, "Who are you for Halloween?" And she said, "I'm Jennifer DiNuccio from Square Pegs." And that was like, that's still, that's like one of the biggest compliments, coolest things that's ever happened.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
This past summer, I was in the south of France, and I was like on the French Riviera, you know, and I was in an internet cafe and sitting around talking to some locals, and this one guy who's a marine biologist from the States who lives down there doing research in the Mediterranean said, "What do you do in the States?" And I said, "Oh, I do voiceover. That's what I do now." And he said, "Oh, have you always done that?" I said, "Actually, I did a series in the 80s." And he said, "What was it?" And I said, "Square Pegs." And he went nuts. He went nuts. This guy, he's like a marine biologist. He's like this genius guy who monitors global warming and stuff. He went nuts. And it's really funny how...
I was in Indonesia and I saw Square Pegs. It was dubbed in French, which was very bizarre.
Very funny. Yeah.
But you know, again, I don't think...
Speaking of Halloween, I just want to say that I had a line, and it was, "Halloween, white people walking around in sheets is not my idea of fun." I hate that. Like, I mean, the lines are really funny. White people dressed up in sheets. I mean, that's a really funny line. I mean, it was kind of edgy.
Well, see, that's the thing. I think people who never saw the show don't realize just exactly how cool and edgy it was. They don't.
I didn't know how cool and edgy it was.
They think
it
it's
was
like,
over my head.
You know, Saved by the Bell or something like that.
No.
It wasn't. It was cutting edge. It was genius. It was a year ahead of its time.
That's Ann Beats.
Yeah, and everybody else who was writing, too.
Well, Andy Borowitz.
And Janice Hirsch.
Janice Hirsch.
A lot of really great writers.
Really great writers. I didn't know the show had been canceled until I think the lineup for the new fall season came out and we weren't on it. And I was in shock. I think I called one of the executive producers, or he called, and, you know, with condolences or something. It was like someone died. Well, you know, someone did. That was hard.
I think there was not a lot of shock on my part, because towards the end of the run, things had kind of been, I think the network really felt like it wanted to be more involved with the show, and I think the fact that we were so physically far away from the network was hard for them. I think they really wanted to feel like we've got all these crazy writers, we've got all these, you know, mad geniuses running around, and there's nobody kind of, you know, making sure that they don't tell a joke that's not all right and, you know, waste everybody's time or whatever they were thinking. So
Right.
I think it was kind of like, you know, is it really worth all the trouble? And I wasn't really particularly shocked. What I was really sad about, though, obviously, was the fact that they had finally gotten our hair right.
They had finally gotten our lighting right. They'd finally gotten our hair, our makeup, and our lighting right.
We finally looked good on the show.
We looked good by the last show. We looked really good, and then it was over. But
no, of course it was really sad,
really
because,
sad.
you know, people say this, but you really do become a family, and everybody, you spend so much time during the day together, and I think that was the hardest thing. You always, you know, I think all of us were so young that we didn't realize that a lot of us were never going to see each other again. You kind of think, okay, well, all right, the show's canceled, but that doesn't matter. We're still all going to be friends.
Right.
And Claudette and I really managed to maintain that.
We really bonded, and we just, our friendship became our real life.
Yeah.
And so.
And
except we're not really caught up in hair and makeup, and you don't say like all the time, and I don't say, girl, I
No.
hate that all the time. So, you know,
No, we
other
don't.
than that.
No, no, no. And actually, you know, I was a square peg in school big time, so to play that character was really fun for me. And
We talked about that all the time because I also, in my high school yearbook, it said Claudette Wells it said Claudette Wells will become a professional wallflower. That's what a nerd I was.
It did?
Professional wallflower.
So
Yeah, when I
ridiculous.
went back to the reunion,
even
they had to.
imagine that.
No, I made them eat those words.
Well,
I'm not a wallflower.
no, she's not. She
I'm
goes to the
not.
south of France and to the Riviera and
Yeah, I have
talks
a
to
really
marine
good time
biologists
and
and
dance
stuff.
a lot, and I don't hold up the wall and blend in.
I have a 15-year-old daughter who is not familiar with square pegs just because until now it hasn't really been around to watch. And she's got a really awesome sense of humor. She's got the square peg sense of humor, which is kind of dry and maybe a little bit cynical and very smart. And we were cracking up the other day. She's never even seen the show, and I was telling her about a scene. And I don't know if this will seem funny to you or not, but do you remember when we had all the international children that came?
Yes.
And they were all in the bathroom, and my character was putting lip gloss on and said something like, does anyone have any lip gloss? And there were all these little girls, and they're, you know, little girls in these international costumes, and they all hold up their lip gloss. And my character said something like, you're really small. something
Yeah, something
simple
really,
like that.
yeah.
And it was just so funny and so just off the wall and bizarre, and there was so much of that kind of humor that went on. And
Well,
you know,
yeah, and I remember in that episode, my zinger of a line was that I had to walk Sister Nigeria to the bathroom. And my line was, in response to LaDonna, you walk with Sister Nigeria, my line was, I'll walk with, but I won't wipe. And I can't believe I said that on television. And then it made it in, and it did. I'll walk with, but I won't wipe? What kind of a kid in school says, you know? Anyway, those, you know, Sister Nigeria. You called me Sister Nigeria once when I came back from a sun tanning trip. You actually said you look like Sister Nigeria, Claudette. You're so dark, you got a tan. You know, I guess I did, Sister Nigeria. Yeah, that was a funny episode. Do you remember the time that, you know, we were doing the football episode and you had the black stuff to put under here? And you said something about, what was your line?
I don't know.
You said, what is that stuff called that you put on your cheeks and you put on?
Cheek blackening stuff.
You said, oh, I thought it was shadow. I just remember it was like, you had put it all over the tops of your eyes. That was so funny.
And there was that one scene with the red, there was like a red suede coat in the grease.
Yeah.
And you're like, girl, that jacket is hot. It is burning my eyes. And my character says, you know, I really like it except for this. And it had one of those plastic tags on it from the store.
I really like it, except for this. It's just really lame.
Sound like
really
a frog.
lame.
It was very
funny.
It was funny.
It was very funny.
And all these years later, we can still think it's funny.
We're laughing. It was very funny. Yep. It was great. It was great.
Some of it was not great. Some of it was hard, really hard work. It was hard. I sound like George Bush. It was hard work. But we, you know, because we were not the minors, so we were the ones who really had to work the hours. And I think, in retrospect, you know, it's good that we were younger, because it really took a lot out of you.
Yeah, and I think when we did the football show, we had to have that full football gear on. It was 104 degrees in Norwalk in August. And I had the flu, and I had like 102 temperature.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
And you know, we're doing all this running. I would die if I did that. I mean, and you know, and I would lie down in between takes, and they kept giving me like NyQuil and
Gatorade,
and
wake up.
Yeah. And whenever the extras were mean to us, I'd walk and I'd step on their feet, step on their toes, because they were.
The worst day for me was the day that my character had to kiss my boyfriend. Because I had never done that before on film, and I was terrified. It was like, all right, what do you do? How do you do it? You know, what's required? And John Cleary,
really kiss him?
Yeah, John Cleary was playing my boyfriend. He was having all the same fears, and was not expressing them to me. We probably could have helped each other if we had talked, but you know, we were both acting like, I've done this before. And it was inside of a van. And
Wow.
yeah, it was
Oh,
not
I
a fun
remember
day for
that.
me.
I remember that. I don't think I was there that day.
I don't think you
No,
were.
because we would have commiserated over that.
Maybe you could have helped me out. Actually, I really had no idea what.
I didn't know either. I
Well,
never
that's
kissed anybody
true.
on film.
Claudette came from St. Louis, and
Yeah, not to do the show.
where they don't have a lot of Hollywood showbizy type stuff to learn about there,
No.
and so
I
it
was
all
really
new.
naive, and Tracy would tell me things. I didn't know how show business really worked.
Well, my family was in the show business. I had never done television before, but I know a little bit about stuff.
She knew how things worked, and she would tell me, and I'd say, "Oh, that can't happen. That's not going on." I was so naive. She still tells me things now, and I am still learning every day. You grow up in it or you don't, and you learn the best way you can.
There's a beauty in being that naive, I mean, there was a beauty in all of us being that naive,
Yeah.
and including Anne, including everybody that was involved in production. It was kind of like you felt like the sky was the limit, and you could really try stuff and do stuff, and you didn't feel locked into that thing. Like there's an old joke, how many television executives does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know how many.
I don't know, what do you think? And that's kind of like, we didn't have that on our show, which was really great.
Because we were 40 miles away
that's right.
in Norwalk.
And honestly, I think that's why we were canceled. I think it was too...
They didn't have enough control.
Right.
Who knows? I don't know.
Also, I don't think they were smart enough to get a lot of the jokes. Don't tell anybody I said that, but...
They're going to find out now.
Yeah, but I really think that's true. I think a lot of the humor, back then, especially in a sitcom, it's pie in the face kind of stuff, and we didn't do a lot of that. And I think
it was really funny.
It was funny, and a lot of it was just over everybody's head. We said stuff that people were like, "What? What did she just say?
Yeah.
Is that okay?" Yeah.
My background was theater too, and so improvisational comedy theater. So to me, it was just normal. Because, you said all kinds of risque things in improvisational comedy theater. So, but I didn't know from television.
Do you remember when we made fun of the facts of life? That one line?
No, I don't.
I don't know if
what
I
was
should
the
repeat
line?
it. Something about, I think Marshall Bleckman said something like, I think it was a football episode or something about Muffy he was the radio announcer or something. Muffy is going to take on the entire cast of Facts of Life.
I remember that.
Yeah, originally the line was Fats of Life.
That's
which
right.
They said no.
We couldn't have that?
Oh, and I remember too, the other reason I was very disappointed it got canceled was because there were rumors that we might have, in character, been able to be ushers at the Emmys. And I remember there was some talk about that and how incredibly fun that would have been to just have no big fanfare about it. We all just in character
that would have been hysterical.
With our ushers' costumes would have been at the Emmys just taking people to their seats, and that really sounded great.
See, now she knows about that, and she probably told me, but I have no memory of that.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, but there was so much inside stuff going on that I didn't know about.
But that's good because you were focused on your work.
Yeah, writing notes in that notebook. We had a notebook. Tracy decided that when we were...
there was a lot of classroom stuff.
In the classroom stuff. When we'd sit and wait for the lighting changes and stuff to happen, she passed this notebook around, and we all wrote notes as our characters back and forth to each other, and that was a really good idea.
It's pretty funny.
It is. She still has it. Very good idea. Well, I'd just like to say, one thing about Ann Beats. If Ann had not been such... well, she was from New York, and she didn't know
that kind of says it all.
That kind of says it all. She didn't know how things were run in Hollywood. I never would have gotten to audition for the show because my acting teacher went to audition for the role of the principal. And he said to Anne, she liked him. He didn't get the part. She liked him, and he said, "Would you see people from my acting school because I have a lot of young people in my..." And she said, "Sure." That doesn't happen. So everybody from the acting school got to audition, and I got a part. I didn't have an agent. That's how I got the part, because of Anne.
And I think the fact that, I didn't look like Heather Locklear, I was sure I was not going to get the part. But, Anne being as cool as she is and such a maverick and going, okay, well, this girl doesn't look like everybody else, but she's interesting, so we'll maybe cast her as the popular girl in school. And, anybody else probably would not have done that.
No,
so
we wouldn't have had those jobs.
We owe, and not just the job and jobs that came from that to Anne, but also the fact that we're friends. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me that came out of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Really and truly, I spend all my holidays with her.
We're family now.
We're like sisters, and we are. It's true. it happened. Thanks.
Welcome.